What 6 microeconomic effects spontaneously and inevitably spring into operation in the market and put an end to this euphoria or stage of artificial credit expansion ushered in by fractional reserve banking? The first effect, there is a rise in the price of the factors of production. You will recall that in the case of saving, I made a qualification. I said that when saving increases, the profits of the companies furthest from consumption increase in relative terms, that it is wise to invest there, and that those companies demand labor. I asked, will the price of labor increase? And the answer was no, because labor is freed from the stages close to consumption. However, now it is not freed from the consumption stages, because people continue to consume at the same rate as before. So now, the only way entrepreneurs can possibly attract factors of production to the stages furthest from consumption is to pay more for them, for labor and natural resources. So, the first effect observed in the market is a larger and larger rise in wages, and the price of the other original means of production, natural resources, raw materials, skyrockets. What happens to the price of raw materials right before the financial crisis? What happened a few years ago to the price of copper and oil? How high did it get? It went through the roof. This is the first effect. Resources are not freed, and there is much higher monetary demand for them. When the price of productive factors rises this much, it is the first warning sign to entrepreneurs, because they have carried out their studies and designed their entrepreneurial projects with a much lower cost in mind. Even so, due to the euphoria and the binge of the bubble period, this first wake-up call is not enough to halt the processes initiated, and a second effect appears temporarily. There is a subsequent sharp rise in the price of consumer goods. Why? Because the newly created money in the form of loans is injected into the system and lent to entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs demand labor, buy equipment, etc. In a second, third and fourth wave, the money reaches the pockets of consumers, and since they go on consuming at the same rate as before, and now they have much more money available to them, what happens to the price of consumer goods and services? As we do not reduce our consumption and we have a lot more money, the price of consumer goods and services tends to increase. What did we see happen to the CPI a few years back? The prices of consumer goods in Europe, Spain, the United States, etc. began to soar. This was due, first, to an increase in the monetary income of the original means of production, and second, to the fact that when entrepreneurs demand productive factors for projects that will mature in a more distant future, there is a slowdown in the immediate arrival of consumer goods in the market. What happened during the euphoria period? It was impossible to even get a table in a restaurant. One had to make a reservation, and people would fight to get into a disco or to buy any consumer good. The arrival of consumer goods had slowed down, because many productive factors had been taken to more distant stages, and also there was a lot of monetary demand. It was the stage of euphoria, runaway prices, etc. Moreover, the increase in the prices of consumer goods gives the impression of entrepreneurial prosperity. It seems like anything can be sold at any price. There is artificial growth in profits, and this leads many people to increase their consumption even more. Damn, I'm practically a millionaire. I'm going to go on a cruise to the Caribbean or to Cancun, etc. Capital is consumed during the euphoria stage. There is a third effect as well. When the money reaches the pockets of consumers and they go on consuming at the same rate as before, and the price of consumer goods and services goes through the roof, what happens to the entrepreneurial profits of the Corte Inglés and the stages close to consumption? They go through the roof too. What sign does that send to entrepreneurs? It tells them that money is being made close to consumption, not in the stages distant from it, precisely where, a few months or years earlier, entrepreneurs insisted on launching investment processes with low-interest loans from the banking system. Doggone it, I took on a loan of 4 million euros, or of 40 million, or of 400 million, for this investment project in housing. And it turns out that now the place to make money is in consumption and the Corte Inglés, and nobody wants houses. What a mistake. This brings us to the fourth effect, the Ricardo effect, but in reverse. Well, the price of consumer goods is skyrocketing, since no one has decided to save. And after the third or fourth wave of newly created loans, everyone has more money. The prices of consumer goods and services are soaring, and if nominal wages do not change, real wages go down. And if real wages go down, what do entrepreneurs do? They stop demanding tractors, computers and blast furnaces, which is exactly where the new loans went, and they hire more labor. We need more shifts, turnos in Spanish. We've got to push harder and add more shifts. We need immigrants from North Africa, Latin America, wherever. Labor, and not capital equipment. Well, this is almost the last straw for entrepreneurs who have undertaken investment projects in the stages furthest from consumption. But there is a fifth effect, which comes as the final blow. Once the new money has been injected in the form of loans, interest rates return to their previous levels. In other words, they come back up and even reach higher levels than before. As you know, the gross market interest rate has three components: the natural rate of time preference, the risk premium, and the premium for expected inflation or deflation. If prices tend to rise, the interest rate will include a higher premium for expected inflation. That is, for the drop in the purchasing power of the monetary unit. Also, uncertainty rises, and there is an increase in the risk premium. Well, if interest rates rise, dear students, what happens to the present rate of all capital goods, to which entrepreneurs so eagerly devoted the loans? It drops by half. What is happening to the prices of all the apartments that have been built in error? They are falling now. Once the new loans have been granted, the interest rate, which was reduced to 4%, goes back up to 11, 12 or 13%. Many desperate entrepreneurs will not want to accept the harsh reality that they have committed a very grave error, and they will insist on finishing their apartments and completing their investment projects, and there will be a sort of battle for bank loans, which will cause interest rates to climb even more.